Once upon a time, there was a girl named Little Rocky. Little Rocky loved hip-hop. It was her favorite. She loved how smooth and fun it was. Did you know that you could rhyme diapers with Mekhi Phifer? Not before hip-hop you didn't. You can only imagine how happy she was that 5 of her friends were performing this year in the halftime show. But it was up to her to make sure all 5 of them got there on time and safely. She started up her 6-person lack. A lack is a Cadillac you'll have to keep up, and went to go scoop up her friend Mary first. "Hey girl, thanks for coming to get me. You know how those family affairs can be. It was only going to be about a matter of time before you get loose and start to lose your mind." "I've been to your parties, Mary. They're a lot of fun. What were you celebrating?" "No more drama in my life." "That's wonderful. Always a good excuse for a party." "Little Rocky, do you mind if I rest my eyes? We got crunk and now I'm going down." "Of course, Mary. Relax. Dre's getting in the car anyway." "Dr. Dre, I almost didn't recognize you in that hat." "I'm still Dre today, Rocky." "Well, regardless, I'm happy to see you. What's been up?" "Since the last time you heard from me, I lost some friends." "Not Snoop. Me and Snoop, we dipping again." "Okay, good. Don't scare me like that. Careful ahead." "Yeah, I see them. I'm going the speed limit. Don't worry." "You're, still not loving police, Dre?" "Nah." "Yeah, me neither. You know, you were saying that in 1999, and police are still terrifyingly reckless with human life." "Oh, look, there's Snoop." "Sup, foos?" "Hey, Uncle Snoop, where are you coming from?" "It's Sunday, so up in yo bitch is where you might find me." "Your bitch?" "Yeah. The youth organization of underground rappers and business introverts that celebrate hemp." "That's right. I forgot you were the dog father of that organization." "He is I and I am him." "What do you have in that cup, Snoop?" "I got me some Seagram's gin. Want some?" "I'm driving, but thank you." "I just drank a fifth of vodka. Dare me to drive?" "Slim, have you been in the car this whole time?" "Yeah, plus my tank is on empty, and no patience is in me to get gas. So I thought I'd prank you." "How'd you get in the car?" "You left the trunk open, something I would never do." "I also watched you walk inside last night. Have you been working out?" "Stairmaster, yeah." "I can't believe it. I never seen an ass like that." "Thank you, Slim. Now stay focused. We have one more stop before we hit the venue. Kendrick is waiting for us." "Nobody pray for me." "What happened, Ken?" "It been that day for me. I got royalty inside my DNA. I can't be treated like that." "Tell us." "I was at Starbucks and I ordered a chai tea latte because chai tea latte is my favorite. Then I hear, Derek, chai tea latte for Derek?" There was only one person in there besides the employee. Me, Kendrick. "Well, what did you say?" "I said, I can't fake humble just because your ass is insecure." And I took the chai tea and I left. "Good for you, nephew." "Good for you on your latest business venture, Uncle Snoop." "Thank you. It's true. Death row is the label that pays me." We're here, everybody. I hate to say goodbye, but I'm going to be cheering you on from the stands. Hell yeah. Thanks for the ride, Little Rocky. Nothing but a G thing, Dre. I'll see you in the next episode.
Time for
the
Rocket
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, hello. Thank you for dropping in again. I'm so happy to see you, but the version where you're listening to me and I talk to you in like a long little sexy voicemail that makes you giggle, so you save it. Then you listen to it every time you're feeling down or even when you want to feel a little more up. Did you have a good week? I sure hope so. My week was good. I'm always wishing it's summer, but I'm too East Coast to do anything about it. Oh, Happy Valentine's Day. Or week, depending on when or if you observe. I'm single, but to be honest, Valentine's Day doesn't make me sad. I had a lot of Valentine's Days in the past that were always thoughtful and always beautiful, and the ones I'll have in the future will be amazing too. So tonight, I'll thank my lucky stars that the universe is giving me a little break for a couple of years where I don't have to have a man's dick in my mouth on a Monday. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. This week, my friend Courtney and I went out for drinks in our neighborhood to have a midweek laugh, and we went to this bar. Immediately upon entering, I see a gremzie. Gremzie is a derogatory term for a gremlin in the wild. You've seen one. Gremzies, though gender nonconforming, generally identify as male, statistically speaking. They look at you like they're posing for a gum commercial, but this is a juxtaposition because the smile mixed with their general gremziness will send shivers down your spine and dry up any wetness dripping from your vagine from when you walked in the bar and you saw that super hot guy smoking a cigarette outside. You don't want to date a smoker, but you 100% would. People can change. The gremzie will also make themselves known by licking their lips like they have filet residue all over them after they left the surf and turf lunch special at Rick's Cabaret. They just want to devour you. I made note of him, as any observant person would, but I didn't vocalize any concern. Best not to give any attention to a gremzie. Courtney and I grab our drinks and we're mid-laugh, and then the smoking hot Joe Camel from outside walks by and she looks at me and says, "Wow, yikes." And I say, "I know, right? What a bad boy." Wow, yikes, indeed. But what's up? Why is he here solo on a Wednesday just smoldering, right? That's a red flag. Whatever. If he's a red flag, I'm the United Nations, bitch. Switch seats with me, so I'm in his eye line. She obliged, as she's happily married, but she still kind of had a stunned look on her face. We go back to gabbin', classic, and about 5 minutes later, I look over to Gremzie. He looks like a girl's joined him at the bar, which took him from a Category 5 high alert gremzie to a Category 1 less dire gremzie. Looks like that dude found love. Thank God. He was for sure creeping me out. Courtney asked me, "Wait, you're not attracted to him?" "No. Oh my God. He gives me the heebie-jeebies, dude." "Yeah, but you just said he was smoldering." "No, not him. Him." The point I did was not subtle, but I get excited, you know? Courtney let out the biggest sigh of relief. Thank God. I thought you knew that when I said, "Wow, yikes," I was talking about this guy over here. And I went, "Oh, no, not him." Yeah, I thought wow, yikes good. Not wow, yikes bad. Wow, yikes hot. This was a classic case of mistranslated wow yikes. When I hear wow yikes, I think there goes my lower back, and will my legs go behind my ears without popping off like the 4th of July? Unlikely. I've been thinking a lot about the root of making fun of people. I'm serious. Sometimes you can poke fun by imitating or teasing someone you love or even someone you don't love. You can have the hardest laughs, or it can lead to the most long-lasting and unforgettable tears. But where does the human urge to make fun of or imitate people for a laugh come from? Like deeply, really come from? My theory? Cave times. Think about it. You got 20 cave people doing their thing. We got hunters. We got gatherers. And all of a sudden, a new group of 20 cave people walk on the scene. They've been traveling from 40 miles away for about 5-ish days, and they have the same goals as our first cave group. They just want to survive and enjoy their time with each other. Maybe they walk a little different, grunt a little different, wear their leaves a little different. The first group is so warm and welcoming to the second group. They teach them some tricks, open up their land, they couple swap. Life is good. Then after a few days, Cave Group 2 has to bounce. It's time for them to get back on their journey. Cave Group 1 is really gonna miss them, and they're sitting around a newly invented fire, and the energy is quiet and a little melancholy. They miss their new friends already. After a few minutes, one of the cave people stands up and he breaks the silence by imitating the walk of one of the cave people from group 2. He imitates him without words, and all the cave people see him and they know exactly who he's imitating. Ugh Ugh. They all loved Ugh Ugh, but he had a funny little walk, and because they all laughed, the cave comedian started imitating all the members one by one of the second group. The laughter continued on, and it made them all miss the second group so much, but it made them miss them differently. Better even. That's what I like to think the root of making fun of people came from, but I'm no historian. That brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. Number 1. One day, you'll buy your last stick of deodorant. Number 2. Sea turtles must communicate with each other. But what do they say? Number 3. I was kicked out of a classroom in high school by a substitute teacher who looked like Stan Marsh's uncle because I was wearing a Mickey's Malt Liquor fitted t-shirt. That moment pops in my head at least once every 3 months, and now it lives in your memory too. Enjoy. Number 4. Legitimately, what does TED Talk stand for? Number 5. When in doubt, try and be more like Paris Hilton. If that comment triggered you in any way, do a little more research on Paris Hilton. Number 6. I found it to be placating when Fergie tried to relate to us by saying, I still go to Taco Bell, drive-through, raw as hell. Please, Fergie, going in the drive-through line is a Trojan compared to the unprotected journey that is stepping foot inside an American fast food restaurant in the daytime. That's the definition of raw as hell. My guest this week is comedian Chris Burns, but you may know him as Fat Carrie Bradshaw. I've seen Fat Carrie Bradshaw before, but where? Lighting up your goddamn Instagram feed, that's where. Filling it with red-hot hilarious content and wigs galore. His wild word was justice, and I promise I will not object. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Wild Nights with Rocky, or on Twitter at Wild Nights Pod. For full extended interviews with all of my guests, please be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Thank you to all of you who've written a review on Apple Podcasts already. It really does make a difference. And if you haven't written a review yet, crack those knuckles and massage that keyboard. And now, please enjoy my Wild Nights conversation with Fat Carrie Bradshaw. Chris, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Oh my God, hi. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to see you. All with lipstick at noon.
I know, lipstick at noon. That's my the title of my autobiography.
Oh my God, that's a good autobiography title, honestly. I used to have a friend that said the more better put together she looked on the weekends, the shittier she felt on the inside.
Oh yeah.
And
was I that friend?
No, I'm like, yeah, I throw on a little moisturizer and I'm like, okay, feeling better for the day.
Feeling good. I have to say, I don't think we've seen each other. Well, this isn't in person, but I think the last time I saw you in person was outside the Lizzo concert.
Oh my God, which was the best night of my life.
Holy shit, that was so much fun.
That was, oh my God, how long ago was that? That was before COVID was even
a blip. I want to say it was May 2019.
That does sound right. It was definitely May because it was nice out.
It was nice out. I went with my friend Isabel and I told her, because all those tickets were GA, like general admission. So I told her, I was like, let's get in line at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. We'll be right up at the front. Trust me, I know concerts. And she was like, no, we're going out for drinks first and then we'll get in line. And then we were like way in the back. We had to elbow.
Do you know what I did at that? Because that venue is so horrible because it's just like, it's a giant room basically
like
where everyone but they have like when you go in there's stairs to the side and like that's GA as well as the balcony and no one goes up there. So I had a friend that was like, before the Lizzo concert was like, you just go up to the balcony, nobody goes up there. And when I tell you, no one was up there, the view was amazing, and there's a bar right behind you. I felt like I had like a private box at the Lizzo concert. It was such a dream. And then we leave and people are singing on the street, and who is out there belting away but Rocky?
I was living my best life. I was so happy to see you. I wish I knew that balcony thing. Let's not say the venue name because we'll keep that balcony secret, our little secret.
Yeah. And Lizzo's probably, it would take a very important person to get me back to.
There we go. We said the name of the
Oh
venue.
shit, I already ruined it. Edit it out. You guys, if anyone takes the balcony, I will fucking lose my mind.
Imagine. I actually might bleep it out.
Do it. That's so funny.
I might bleep it out. Chris, I'm just happy to see you. How's your life been? I feel like we're two ships passing in the night too, because we're both close friends with Lauren Brickman. And every time I see you with her, I'll be with her a couple of days later.
I know. I mean, it's been, life is so different now than it was before COVID, but I'm adjusting. Because I had signed a new lease on March 15th of 2019, which was the day of the pandemic started.
Yes.
And so
2020, you mean?
2020.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, right around that time is when it started.
So then I went upstate for a while, and then my lease was up, and I went to LA for a couple months just to like test the waters.
Of course.
But the waters weren't that warm. I wasn't interested.
A little murky.
It was a little murky, I didn't have a scuba suit, and I wasn't that into it. But then I moved back to the city. I mean, I paid for a full year of rent, not really was in Brooklyn, but now I'm in Manhattan. She's a Manhattan girl.
She's in Manhattan.
And very like, I'm on the same avenue as Lauren, only like 30 blocks.
Okay, that's good to know. Up or down?
Down.
Okay.
Yeah.
She fancy.
Listen, it's those COVID prices. So who knows?
Fancy.
Come the end of the lease, I might not be a Manhattan girl anymore.
Well, you're always welcome in Astoria. Let's just say, so now you're a Manhattan girl, life is good. You got your I guess it's not post-COVID, but you got your post-paying rent for a year lease.
Yeah.
Justice. Yes, you got your justice. So Chris's wild word was justice. So Chris, give us your wild night story, justice.
Okay, so I've had quite some wild nights, but this is a wild night that I'm proud of and also fully remember because I was sober.
Gotcha.
Completely sober. Perfect. And I was like 16 years old, I want to say. And I grew up outside of Albany, which if you grew up in the suburbs, it's like the same everywhere. Right. And we would hang out, my friends in high school and I would hang out at the playground. Like, so it's my house and then woods. And then there's like an elementary school on the other side of the woods. I can picture this already. Yeah. So, right. And then there's woods on the other side of the school. And then my friend's house is on that side. Okay. So that's important to the story. Also important to know, the police in my town are just bored and always looking for things to do. I was literally going to say bored. Yeah. And so there was a beautiful wooden playground there. And when I was in like 7th grade, someone burned it down. And it had been like made by the community and it was like a whole thing. But then someone got drunk and burned it down as a prank. Gotcha. And so they rebuilt this whole playground, and at dusk and nighttime, that's where the high schoolers would go hang sometimes. Of course. And so one evening we're there and the police come with you're not allowed to be there, to be clear. Okay. And so the police come, sirens on, and my one friend, Kate, who just loves drama, was like, just screams, "Run for your life!" And so, how many of you were there, Chris? How many? There was like 15. So there was like my group of friends, and then they were hanging out with these guys from a different school. Oh, and isn't that the best when you're in high school? And I'm like the gay friend that's like judging them from afar, but also there. And so my one friend was like, "Why are we gonna run? We're literally not even doing anything." And as she says this, Kate again says every man for himself and starts sprinting. And so I'm like, okay, I have to run for my life. I immediately slip on, and it's like, so the playground's on a hill.
Gotcha.
Surrounded by woods. And so I'm running down the hill with everyone else, and I immediately fall and land like on my face just at the edge of the woods.
Yeah.
And so now the cops are up at the playground and yelling because everyone's running. And they start calling for backup. And I reacted by just sticking my face down. So like I was lying in the woods.
Yeah.
Everyone is running. I fall and I'm like, I have a better chance of just laying here in the woods than trying to get up and move.
Like making a ruckus, yeah.
And so I'm laying in like, I'm also bleeding because when I fall like through pricker bushes. So I'm like covered in tiny cuts.
Oh,
and
no.
My glasses are like askew because I like hit something. And then I'm like keeping my head down because of my glasses. I'm like, the flashlight will reflect the glasses. And so the long story short is I end up here for 4 hours.
Okay.
Because the cops call more and more backup, and they are literally searching the woods and like talking to each other. When I tell you, he was standing next to my head with the flashlight, like looking over me.
Oh my
God.
God.
In my head, I'm like, at this point, if I get caught, I'm going to be in a lot of actual trouble because I ran from the police and I'm now hiding for no reason at all.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking they must see me and they like are either fucking with me or like feel sorry for the fat kid that fell while running and everyone else got away.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was just going to ask you. Everyone left you?
So yes, they did. But this is and I knew that they knew I grew up like in those woods. So
yeah.
Afterwards, when I talked to my one friend, she was like, I figured you were like at home in bed and you just went through the path to the woods. And also, they were shitty friends, but they all ended up getting caught. Every single one of them individually.
Wow.
Like the one friend got pulled over because her car was like in the other side of the woods and the cops had seen it and like wrote her license plate down.
Yeah.
And I was the only one who got away. And I got home. I was supposed to be home by like 10:30. I got home at 4:00 in the morning.
Oh my God.
And my parents were like asleep. And then I just told them the truth because I was also covered in cuts and bruises and my face was in something's nest. But honestly, that was my proudest moment because everyone else got caught except for Kate, who called my friend and the cops answered.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked her name and she gave the name of this poor girl that lived in the neighborhood that we didn't hang out with ever.
Oh my God.
And she always said, like, if we ever get caught by the cops, I'm going to give Angela's name. And then she literally did it. So neither her or I got caught, but the other 13 people did get caught. And like nothing really happened to them. But that's only the beginning of the colony police have chased me twice, I think, but this time was justice. They did catch up with me about a year later at a high school party.
Same cops?
It was the same cops, and I know it was the same cops because my dad's like friends with one of their fathers.
Gotcha.
So the name I knew. And then the other one's last name. So I obviously lied and said at the high school party, I was like, I don't have an ID with me.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, what's your name? And I gave him my real name. And then he got really mad. And his name was also Chris Burns. And it said C Burns on his thing. So he thought I was like being a dick.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I swear. And then they breathalyzed me. And this was also, I was 16 and working at the grocery store. So I had friends that were like 30 and whose lives were like a mess and had gotten DUIs before.
I worked at a Kmart when I was 16. I speak your language.
And he was like, if you ever have to take a breathalyzer, just blow really lightly because it won't pick up. So that's what I did. And then the cop was like, obviously somebody's done this before. And I was like, oh my God. And they made me call my parents, and I had to lose my fake ID, which this is the most horrific thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And was not justice for the person I did it to. But while working at the grocery store, if there was a lost and found with everyone's IDs, and we would like go through, and if something looked like us or one of our friends, we would take it.
Oh.
So this kid, I swear, looked exactly like me, like identical. And I got away with using it every single time.
Yeah.
But my parents had like found out about it, so I had to cut it. Like that was my punishment for the cops calling my house, was the sound of them cutting up that ID. But the day after that, I go in to the like convenience store where I would always go to buy beer, and the kid whose ID it was working behind the counter with like a trainee tag.
Oh my God.
I owe maybe an actual like federal case to the Colony Police, because imagine me handing my ID to the person whose ID it was, who also had come back to the grocery store looking for it, but it was already in my pocket, and
it was already in your possession. What were you going to give it back?
Like I was like, what am I supposed to do? Be like, oh yeah, I kept it for safekeeping in my pocket.
Yeah. So you were smart enough. You had the wherewithal to say, oh, this is me behind the counter trading right now. This is my fake ID. I can't pass this over to him.
No, it was the day after my parents had cut it up. So
it's fate almost.
It was fate is how I'm taking it. And now he's like a big real estate person in my hometown.
Oh, okay.
And I like see his name on nice houses for sale. So yeah, if you're from the 518 area, try to put those context clues together, because I will never admit who it was.
And you never should. That is, in hindsight, looking back at, because I always looked like a child until I didn't. There was just like one day where I looked like a woman, but I was like, getting carded up until like 25, 26, and still love the occasional getting carded, but it is way more infrequent. And I would never even think to use a fake ID.
There was one time too where the cashier was just there, and then the manager was like at the other side of the store, like a little gas station, and she was like, let me see, like there's no way he's 21. And I about shit a brick because I was 18 or even younger than that. And she came and like took the ID and looked at it for like 5 minutes, and she was like, wow, sorry, you just look super young. And I was like, no problem.
Sorry.
It was a gift that kept on giving, really.
Yeah, that's the thing with fake IDs. I went to the Borgata Casino, probably, I think I was like 22 or 23 when I went. And I was with someone else who was not getting carded, but I walk in, as soon as we get to like the casino floor, somebody's there carding me. Okay, great. I get it. Like it's a Tuesday afternoon in September. It's a little suspicious that I'm here, but whatever. Or a little, not suspicious, a little, not the crowd. I don't fit in with the crowd that's there. Maybe I'm skipping school. So I hand my ID over to the security guard or whatever. Okay, you're good. I sit down at the table. As soon as I sit down at the table, this woman that's the dealer, she needs my ID. Okay, good. Great. Here's my ID, whatever. I'm clear. I'm at the table. Then the cocktail waitress comes over. She cards me. And this is all within, it's in a span of, I'm not kidding you, 5 minutes. So she cards me. And so I hand her my card and I'm like, oh my God, this is the third time in 5 minutes I'm getting carded. This is crazy. Like, do you have a bracelet system or something? And she just looks at me and she's like, oh yeah, tough life. And then she shoves my card, my ID back at me. Like, oh, sorry, lady.
No, I love a jaded waitress working the day shift at the Borgata,
Yeah.
jealous of the young women coming in having to get ID'd.
And I obviously was like, when I would go to Atlantic City back in the day, I used to frequent there quite a bit, and I would get free rooms on the weekdays. So when I would go, it would be like a Tuesday at 4 p.m. and I'd be in a ball gown, like Harris, next to somebody who's like on an air machine or something. And I'm like, okay, but I'm happy with my life choices.
Yeah,
So,
I've never been to Atlantic City. I have to go at some point because I
oh
feel
my God.
I love like a lightly trashy vibe.
It is not lightly trashy. It is extremely trashy.
I
But it
live.
is so much fun. And okay, so I'm glad to know this information because myself, Lauren, and Caitlin have been saying we want to do an Atlantic City trip, and we need a fourth.
Yes.
We need a
Oh my
fourth
God,
to call the
yes.
corners.
Yes,
So
we have to go to Atlantic City. What a dream.
that will be a dream. We'll make that happen, and we'll have a wild night after wild night. I'm so happy that you survived all those cop incidents, and it sounds like you have cool enough parents where they were just letting you do your thing. Like they realized you were a good kid, maybe.
Yeah, I think that it was because I didn't really do anything bad. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I was drinking, but like whatever.
Yeah,
That's the suburbs. But I wasn't like doing drugs or anything. So I think that they
right.
were probably pretty appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is surprising though, that because knowing them, I would have thought that they'd be a lot more angry both times. But they really weren't.
They
So
were. Now, when you look back at who you were in high school and who you are now, you're Mr. Congeniality. You're all over Instagram. Snooki is liking your stuff. I mean, you're a big deal. How does that make you feel?
oh my God, thank you. I guess I do not ever think of it that way.
Well, you
Um,
should. It's
I
exciting.
will say when Snooki followed me, that was an exciting moment for me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
listen, the queen of trash reality
Yeah.
is the dream. Um, yeah, it's definitely like I love that I can do comedy with a big audience and not have to leave my house,
Yeah.
honestly. And I mean, I do miss though the obvious live, you mean you get it, the live
Hmm.
performance aspect of hearing people
Hmm.
respond. But yeah, I feel very grateful, I guess, that I get to do what I do.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah, so even days when I'm like complaining and in a bad mood, I'm like, okay, you need to check yourself here because at least I don't have to work at the restaurant anymore.
Exactly, exactly. And it must be I often wonder when I watch your videos because you play so many characters. You'll do like 5, 6 characters in one video. And I wonder, is that something that's a collaborative experience? Like, is that a collaborative process? Or is that something where you just sit down and you go, okay, I know these 6 girls from high school that wear Uggs to go pumpkin picking.
Yeah, it's usually just me that does
Wow.
my ones because I also like have like control issues of what I want to do. And also I like have an idea in mind, I think, of
Uh-huh.
the character. So now a lot of times it'll be like if it's for a branded video or something, they'll be like, we were thinking this with like these types of girls.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll give like the types and then I just write the what they're saying.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been a lot of there's so many videos. I do like to go back and like I do have like hundreds of characters,
That's what, yeah.
which I never think of myself as like a character person. And then I guess that I am.
Yeah, I think you need to start reframing that thought process because you have so many characters. And I mean, you don't need me to tell you this, but they hit. I mean,
No, thank
they
you.
hit. They're so funny and people love them. People are constantly sharing them. So it's become something now where people know, like, they can look at your content and say this is going to kill, like, I'm going to watch this. It's always the perfect amount of time. You always hit the women that we know, the people that we know, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you should start looking at yourself as the character
Oh,
actor because that is
thank you.
top notch shit.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love putting on a wig?
I know you have so
So
many.
I do have some. Well, now it's like I haven't bought a new wig actually in quite some time. I went through a phase where I was really just like every week ordering a
Yeah.
new wig. Um, but because of the pandemic and my new tiny apartment, like the wig situation isn't
It's a
what I
little
had,
different.
because I was living in Flatbush before in like
Uh-huh.
a huge apartment. Um, and so I had like a Moira like wig
I was gonna
wall.
say, yeah.
And now they're just kind of scattered around between my parents and here. But yeah, I have I think like 50 something.
Wow.
And then there's ones that have retired because there's just, they get a little ratty when I keep shoving them in a duffel bag back and forth from
Yeah,
places.
of course, of course. But I was kind of expecting you to have a Moira Rose-esque space for your
I
wigs.
that my dream is to have an apartment where I have an extra room where I can like have, also because I do so much podcasting, so like
Yeah.
to set up the podcasting stuff and then have to take that down and then set up like the makeup and stuff and then take that down and then set up, because my apartment's so small I can't like have it. So the dream is to have a room where I can just have everything set up and like
Yeah.
leave it set up. So someday I'll get there.
You sure will. And I do want to talk about the podcasting stuff because honestly, you do so many podcasts that it's hard to keep track. So let everybody know kind of which podcasts you're working on right now that are active and in business.
So I do The Bachelor Through Betches, which is just
Mhm.
like a bachelor recap podcast.
Yes.
And then I do Middle Children with Jesse Jollis, and that's like a self-produced thing that we do that is just fun for us.
Because you're both middle children.
Yes.
Mhm.
So that's how it came to be, because I also do the Taylor Strecker Show, which is like a daily radio show.
Yes, Liz
Um,
Cully does that. I had Liz on.
oh yeah. So,
Yeah.
and Liz and Taylor like went to um high school together, I think.
Yeah, and then they like kind of discovered each other, like
Yeah.
redeveloped their friendship later in life. Yeah. Shout out
So
to Liz.
she has like it's a radio show, so it's 2 hours every morning, like 8 to, or it used to be live.
Uh-huh.
So which is crazy to think about, because we used to have to go to like the studio at 8 a.m. Like I would have to go every Friday, and now
Yeah.
we record at like 12, and I'm like, oh God. And like virtually. It's crazy how the world changed so much. So she
And
does
you
like
can't
2 hours
go
every
back.
day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And she like ended up changing her whole thing. So she has like a different co-host for each hour. So I'm like,
Gotcha.
second hour on Monday is like Liz is a Tuesday's first
Mhm.
hour or whatever. But Taylor was away for a while, and so she, like Jesse and I did a whole 2 hours together,
Uh-huh.
and we're chatting about middle children's stories, and then that's how that was born. And we're up to about, I think, episode 90 something, which is a lot.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And then I have some other things in the works. So some exciting projects coming
Yeah.
out soon, but yeah, that are also podcasty. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really glad I got a Zoom at the beginning of, because Taylor like has specific equipment and was like, if you guys have it, like we'll do virtually, but I'm sure we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I bet if I get this shit now, it'll be cheaper and easier if this keeps going. So it is the best move I've made, is just like committing to podcasting, I guess. I
Yeah.
never thought of I guess because when we were young, it didn't exist. Because I'm like, I never would think of myself just talking for a living. But
It's
here we are.
it's becoming such an interesting platform, and even there's so many commercials and stuff for podcasts, which we can get into a whole thing with Spotify. But Spotify, the fact that if you pay for premium but then when you listen to podcasts you still have to sit through their ads, I find very annoying.
I never listened to the podcast on Spotify, just because and honestly, I podcast so much that I only listen to like, I don't listen to any of my own podcasts. I really just listen to like a couple of true crime podcasts.
Oh, okay, so you're in the true crime world.
I really am. Yeah, I watch a lot of Snapped.
Yeah. I stick to usually my rotation is usually Dax if I like the guest. I listen to Armchair Expert. I listen to Conan. I listen to Sarah Silverman, Chelsea, Whitney Cummings. Those are usually my in my weekly roundup. But I wanted to ask you a little bit because yes, of course, you are a podcaster, but your face has gotten pretty well known. Have there been any incidents, particularly in New York, where people have recognized you in a way where it caught you off guard?
Oh yeah, there's been quite a few. I mean, it happens most like in New York. It's happened a couple of like it happened never in LA. The weirdest spot was in the airport in Scotland.
Oh my goodness.
Someone did, and that was really strange. Because she had her phone out with my Instagram up, and we were like waiting to go through customs in Edinburgh, and she was like like from the like other side of the line.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It happened once I was with like 3 of my college friends at brunch, and somebody recognized me, and I was like, this is the best timing. Like like she's like, so sorry to interrupt. I was like, oh my god, thank god. And then they were like, how much did he pay you to come do this? But I think that was the best. And then when I was still working at the restaurant, at the end someone left a note that was like on the check, like I'm such a big fan from Italy, and like left her like handle. And so that was cool because she was like an Italian visitor, and I was managing at the restaurant at that time. So that was always nice, especially when I was working at the restaurant, because it was a nice little boost.
A nice little boost to tell you to keep going, which you have and you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I feel like at this point, like there's no plan B. I'm like, it's too late. I gotta just keep forging, I guess.
I honestly don't think you need a plan B. Everything you're producing, everything you're coming out with is so funny, and you are just such a lovely person. Since the day I met you, such a lovely person. To the days of us partying in 2011 and 2012 at the Shannon Pot in Long Island City.
I think of the Shannon Pot like way more than I should.
Yeah.
You guys, this was I mean, the comedy theater there was absolutely insane. It was you had to walk through a loading dock.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't even know
you're right.
Right. It was like in the basement of some kind of big building. We didn't even know what happened in this building, but we would have to walk through a loading dock and then down these stairs, and there was like a little room with tons of pipes with a stage.
With no windows.
No one exit. It was a fire hazard.
Oh my god.
And remember Lauren like was working there for a bit?
I honestly don't, but that checks out.
Right? And
Lauren having employment there.
Was that the place? There was a show, I think, that was with you and Lauren also, where the dog, maybe you weren't there. There was like no one in the audience, and then a dog came in to the theater and shit on the stage.
Oh man, that does not sound familiar. I wish it did, but because we had a run there for a while. We did hashtag high class hookers there for a while.
I think it was there. And then maybe I think it was there because there was someone selling, like, remember how they briefly had like a little bar?
Yeah.
Where people, and I remember going to the bar being like, a dog came in and shit on the stage. And she was like, oh, mop it. And I thought she was like telling me to mop it up, but the dog's name was Mop It.
Oh no.
She was like, that's Mop It, the owner's dog. And I was like, the owner of what? Like, where are we?
Where are we? That place was in hindsight, you think you're doing these shows. I remember doing shows there afterwards and then going down the street to that little brewery, and it would be a Saturday night and I'd be with my improv team, and I was just like 23 and bright-eyed and like, oh man, we're performing in the same city as Saturday Night Live right now. This is magical. And it's like, well.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I remember because I moved when I was 22. like right after college, and I was like, I'm gonna go. I'll work at this restaurant answering the phone for like 6 months, and then I'll be fine and I'll make it. And I worked at that restaurant for over 7 years. And Lauren, I mean, the fact that we met, it's so out of character for me the way that Lauren and I became friends, because I'm like an anxious I would never go up to someone and just like start talking. Well, I was taking like improv 201 because I had taken a intensive, which they like, it was basically improv class from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And so that's
I know my little brother took those. He would come and stay with me in the city and then do the intensives. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of improv in a week.
I stayed with my uncle in Connecticut. It was like coming in every day. And then on the last day, I was like decided to not go back and literally moved to the city because of improv. But Lauren had like missed one of her classes, and so in 201 she had to like make it up. So she was like in my class once, and when we were leaving class, I was like, you seem like fun, let's get a drink. And we just went to Walter's, I think, and that was the beginning of that whole the years at Walter's is just another dive bar that
Walter's is making a comeback.
Is it? I haven't been back in so long. And Lauren said she went back not that long ago, and it was the same bartender that was always there when we were there.
Yeah, I think Walter's is kind of like where we go, because I perform at the Armory on Fridays sometimes, depending on my week. And that's like the after spot most of the time is Walter's.
Listen, Lauren there was a surprise birthday party for me there. I think you were at it.
Yeah, probably.
Walter's, guys, you have to see what Walter's is. It's like a little sports bar that also, remember, they would have karaoke, and there was this one person who would always come who took karaoke really seriously and would sit at the end of the bar. There's always I'm obsessed with the serious karaoke person.
Yeah.
Who like doesn't even drink. They're like having just an iced tea waiting for their turn to sing Whitney Houston. That's the vibe.
That is the vibe.
Find your passion.
Find your passion, and you too can sing Kelly Clarkson a moment like this.
Here.
But no, Walters is making a comeback. So we have to gallivant together. We have to party. We have to have some fun. I want to have some laughs with you and go to Atlantic City. But in the meantime, everybody listening, if you want to follow Chris, aka Fat Carrie Bradshaw, which is what I was going to also ask you, do people call you Chris in the streets, or will they say Fat Carrie Bradshaw?
Oh, it's always Fat Carrie Bradshaw. Yeah. Listen, I didn't pick the name picked me. That's
how it works. Well, if anyone wants to follow Fat Carrie Bradshaw, you can follow him on Twitter at Fat Carrie B Shaw, at Fat Carrie Bradshaw on Instagram, and fatcarriebradshaw.com.
Yes.
Chris, anything else you want to plug, say, sign off with?
No, please just go to the Insta. Everything will be there if there's anything to be had.
There's always something to be had if you are involved. I look forward to more characters in the future, and I look forward to seeing you and having some laughs in the future.
Yes, I can't wait. We must.
Chris, thank you so much for doing the show. We'll talk soon, okay?
Oh my God, thank you.
Absolutely. Bye.